and welcome to the Unwatchables. Today we are going to be talking about the Purge movies. I'm Kylie, and I'm joined here with Marcus.
Hey, how's it going? So today we're going to talk about the first Purge, which is Purge 4, and Purge Election Year, which is Purge 3.
So the Purge universe is basically a dystopian America in which the ruling body, the NFFA, is they've declared a Purge night once a year in America where there are no laws, even murder is legal, and for 12 consecutive hours, people can pretty much do whatever they want.
All right, well, I guess let's just get into it. So, Kylie, what doesn't work for you for Purge 3? I'm just going to call them Purge 3 and 4 because it's too difficult to say election year in the first Purge, because the first Purge in my mind makes me think of the actual first Purge, not the first Purge of the first Purge that ever happened in the Purge universe. So, let's call them Purge 3 and 4. What doesn't work for you for those two Purge movies?
Okay, so for Purge 3, election year, what didn't work for me was, I believe it was the climax scene in which you get to see the new founding fathers in their sacrificial ceremony sort of thing in the church, and they're all just clearly psychotic, and for me that didn't work because I wasn't able to suspend my disbelief to believe that this was a ruling body of a country of 330 million people or whatever. Because, I mean, you wonder, like, you know, didn't they have interns or other people working for them that would say, hey, you know, these people seem like they're insane. And so I just feel like that would never be a feasible thing. And as for the fourth Purge, I feel like all the gang activity just gave the movie a super, super dark feeling. And it didn't feel like... Because I normally enjoy horror movies, and I don't know if that's technically what these are, but I can usually enjoy some of the darkness, and there's usually comedic relief and whatnot, but I just feel like there wasn't really any in the fourth Purge, and it was just super, super dark, and just kind of a sad movie to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely said a lot of things that can be unpacked there. I guess I'll start with the election year Purge, the third Purge. Yeah, I mean... I feel like for myself, I didn't really care that much for the first Purge, like the first one that came out with Ethan Hawke. Not Ethan, yeah, Ethan Hawke. I always confuse him and Ethan Hunt, the character from Mission Impossible. I didn't really care that much for that one, but the second one, I don't know what it was like about Purge Anarchy. I actually really liked it. Like I feel like the main character, the guy that's the bad guy in Captain America Winter Soldier, that's in Purge 2 and 3. I felt like he was a really good character in the second film. Like, he was very dynamic. If you look at his plot, you know, he basically wants to kill the person that killed his son. But the killer of his son, it was very inadvertent. Like, he didn't necessarily go out with the intention of killing his son. It was more of a, you know, he was drunk and he accidentally killed him. So this whole plot of the second one is this character trying to get revenge. And then when he's faced with the person that killed his son, he decides to let him live, right? And thus letting that guy live, that guy ends up saving his life when that guy was going to kill him right at the end of the second one. And I thought that was really good. I really liked the second one a lot. So the third one, they bring back that character. And now he's the head of Secret Service for this woman running for president. And, you know, at first you're like, okay, that plot doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, because in the second Purge, you don't really get the idea that he's a Secret Service agent. And now all of a sudden he's the head of Secret Service. So that's kind of a little weird. But, you know, it's like whatever. It's like, okay, that's a good actor. Let's just keep him, whatever. But yeah, and the third one, I mean, first, I thought the politics were a little bit too on the nose. I mean, I get it. Like, you want to make a political, like, statement or standpoint, and that's fine. But this film really seemed like it really hammered it hard. There was, like, a lot of politics. And it's like, okay, I get it, you know. It was 2016 when it came out. I think it came out July of 2016. So the presidential race was 4 months away, or we were in the presidential race and the election was 4 months away. So maybe you say, okay, you know, that's, I guess, reason for it. But, you know, when you're watching the film, it's like, okay, this is a little bit on the nose. And they actually use real political parties that exist in the film. Like at the end, when they show the electoral map, they show like the party affiliation for each group. And I was just kind of like, well, all right, are you still saying that like Republicans and Democrats exist in this world of Purge? So I feel like that was a little bit like, I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I kind of feel like for the third one where it really went wrong was, I don't know, the overall story. I mean, okay, so the main character is trying to move the presidential candidate, which, okay, that's a fine plot, even though it's just basically, an escort movie. And we've already seen presidential movies where it's basically the president's being escorted by a bodyguard. But like the subplot of the person who owns that shop with his like right-hand man, that was just, I thought it was just so stupid. Like, they're sitting on the top of this stupid liquor store and he's like, oh, Joe, what are you doing here? And or Jose or whatever his name was. And he's like, oh, I got to help you, boss. And I just thought that was just so cliched and just boring and just so like by the books. It was totally by the books, that one. And everything in the third one, it just didn't seem like it converged into anything very interesting. And then the fourth one was, I thought, a total disaster. The fourth one, like you mentioned, it's a very dark film. It's dark not only in the way that like the storylines that they're talking about or their overall themes, but also just like the way it's literally shot. Like, what do you think about that? Like, doesn't it look like a very physically dark movie?
Yeah, it's all just like grays and browns and blacks. It's all super monochromatic. There's not really any color. Even in the like block party scene where all these people have these like glow sticks and a ton of lights, it should be a really colorful scene, but it was still just like super dark, and it didn't, like, there was no part of the film, even in the end when, they survived through it all, there was no like visually happy moment at all.
Well, between the two, which one do you think had a better storyline, do you think?
I think that the third one probably had a better storyline. I feel like the characters in the third movie were obviously a little bit more developed, so it was a little bit easier to follow, a little bit more viewer friendly, I guess. Whereas in the fourth movie, there was some context and you could sort of gauge the background of some of the characters and their relationships, but they weren't that fleshed out, and so it just wasn't as interesting, I guess, to me. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I completely didn't like the characters. I honestly, like, even though the third one came out longer ago, I remember the third one quite a bit better than the fourth one. And for the fourth one, I didn't really like the direction of the main character being this gang guy that wasn't a good person. Because in the film, he's not a good guy, really. And then all of a sudden at the end or towards the midpoint of the film, he just turns into a good guy because he's like, well, we're not going to let these purgers come in here and wreck the ghetto. But like, this guy was not a good person. Like, he didn't even have like the facade of, oh, I'm a Robin Hood type of guy where,
Right.
Even though I'm like, I'm like a gang guy, like I care about the community. I mean, he was like not a good person ever at any point in the film. And then all of a sudden he has this conversion, right? And yeah, I don't really think he was a very good character at all. And I think I will say one character that I did like was that crazy guy.
Really?
That was
The Skeletor guy?
yeah.
Or whatever?
He was the only character that I kind of liked, even a little.
Really? I hated him. I thought that was so weird because he disappeared for like an hour of the
He
movie.
did disappear.
And then he just popped up randomly to buy them a little bit of time. How did he even know that was their apartment? He just showed up and like stabbed a guy, and then he got killed immediately. So that was just super weird to me. I thought that whole subplot was just whack.
Well, I guess I don't know if it's better or worse than, you remember when those guys are in that same building and the guy's like in that like leather dominatrix outfit and he's got like, doesn't he have like
About the fourth one?
Yeah, the fourth one. Doesn't he have like a Nazi like thing on his sleeve?
Something like that. Are you talking about the old guy that was like leading the group?
Yeah, he's like leading them through the hallways.
Yeah, also, why was that guy leading the group? I mean, obviously he was higher up. I mean, why was he, what was he even doing there? He could have just been on a Bluetooth thing with them.
Well, I think one thing that, in an ironic way, that's kind of funny about the fourth one is they keep cutting back to that corporate guy, government guy who's working with Marissa Tomei.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep cutting back to them and they're trying to make it sound like, oh, this is like a real official thing. We're doing this by the books. But the whole office, like, it doesn't look very modern. Like, it's not believable, the scale of how big their office is. And Marissa Tomei, she has that, like, she has like a baby face situation happens where, she turns into a good guy at the end where she's like, this isn't right. And I never envisioned the Purge would be this. It's like, well, what did you envision that it was gonna be?
She
Kill
made
her
the
anyways.
experiment. That made no sense. Her like whole storyline was just ridiculous. I mean, she created this entire experiment, and then all of a sudden she like gained some morality or whatever, and decided that it wasn't right what they were doing. But that was her plan the entire time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like she had this whole thing where I can't believe it. Like people are doing evil things. It's like, well, yeah, like you said, that was the intent of what she was trying to do.
I mean, she was upset that they were sending out was it like a militia or something.
Well, I think that because in the beginning of the fourth one, like people aren't going out and they're committing crimes. So basically, they say, let's send out people to do stuff to kind of get people riled up to act, right?
Well, it seemed like they were just going and killing people.
Well, that's exactly what they did. So those guys kind of unleashed mayhem, and then that caused normal people to go out and cause mayhem. Yeah, I mean, the fourth one is, I mean, you could say it's an abomination of a movie. It's truly not necessarily great. I just think it's so funny that Marissa Tomei got dragged into that.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
I mean, my cousin Vinny to that. What a heck of a journey. So even though, I mean, so we kind of talked a little bit about what doesn't work for the films. What was something that was in either film that kind of turned you off in general? Like besides what we've already kind of gone over a little bit.
Well, one of the turnoffs from the fourth movie, I think, was those camera lens contacts that they glowed different colors. I thought that was really tacky and kind of a turnoff, and I don't think that realistically they would ever make them bright colors like that. And I guess that's maybe to be able to differentiate who is being paid and who's not. But I think it's more for the audience rather than something that would realistically happen. There was just a lot that I could not suspend my disbelief about in both movies, actually.
Well, what was something that you really didn't like in the third one? Or that turned you off from the third one?
So I understand that there need to be antagonists, but I just thought that in the third one, those two girls that were trying to shoplift the day before the Purge, I mean, no one's going to do that. You know, they're going to wait till the next night and then they're going to go steal things. And also, I don't know how two girls who are that insane are functional enough to attend a Catholic school, because I think that they were wearing uniforms. And so they were obviously, I guess, in high school. And so, but they were deranged, they came back and they've obviously been murdering and they're just screaming at this guy, and it's over what? Just this little convenience store. I don't know. I just didn't see that as very believable.
Well, I think for those two girls, it almost seemed like they almost put those people in there to just be on the poster. Like the idea of these young, kind of attractive schoolgirls are killers. Won't this look great on a poster? Won't this look great at horror nights? Mm-hmm. And that was the full extent of how they thought of the characters, I think.
I guess so. They also had they had their assault rifles or whatever, and they were all rhinestone and they were all decked out, so they were obviously these super wealthy girls. I don't know how their parents wouldn't have them on lockdown or whatever. Maybe they just didn't care about them, but I don't know. There was just a lot of questions I had about those characters, and then they were killed super easily. She just ran over them with a car, so I mean, there wasn't a ton that came about from them. I just didn't think that they really added much to the story.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for myself, oh gosh, sorry. I think probably the thing that really turns me off the most from both films are the characters themselves. I just feel like both films don't necessarily have strong characters. You look at the third film, for example, the person running for president. I know that people like to have this idea. It's oh, well, some politicians are good. In that film, I feel like she was too altruistic. She was too positive, and it didn't really have a lot of depth to her. So I feel like that character I didn't really love. And then the guy they brought back from the second film, they just brought him back. I feel like they don't even really talk a lot about his past. He almost seems like a total new character. Mm-hmm. And he's just, it's almost like a poor man's version of Olympus Has Fallen. It's literally reminded me so much of that. Here's a guy moving the president, and he's got to keep the president safe. I mean, it's a little bit of the same element of the film Man on Fire with Clint Eastwood, although he's trying to catch John Malkovich in that film. But just that, I mean, that was the full development of his character in the third one. He doesn't really talk a ton about the past. He's not really retroflective at all. He's just like, we need to get you out of here. And she's like, well, I want to stay here at this building. It's not safe here. You gotta go. And that's the whole characters from that one. And then in the the fourth one, I mean, I guess that the lead female is fine. I mean, she's all right. But yeah, the main hero, it's really hard to relate to him at all just because he didn't seem like a good guy, really, to me.
Yeah, I feel like almost all the characters in all the Purge movies are pretty boring. Except for I did like Anarchy, but I can't even remember any of the main characters' names, which I feel like is not a positive reflection of the movies. Mm. The only character that I found interesting, even though I hated him, was that Skeletor guy, that super just crazy maniacal guy that was after that main girl's little brother. Mm. But other than that, I just kind of, my eyes just glossed over, honestly, in the fourth one. The third one, I kind of followed the storyline, and it was a little bit interesting to me, but the fourth one, I really just kind of checked out.
What do you think about, like, the cultural significance of the Purge and the fact that people, like, really talked about the Purge? I remember when Anarchy came out. I think it was Nick Young. It was either Anarchy or Election Year. You know, Nick Young was posting on Twitter something like, he's like, is this real? Like, some people were like acting like this was like a real thing that could happen. I feel like if the Purge ever actually happened in real life, I think there'd be a lot more theft. Mm-hmm. Like, if I was living in the Purge universe, I don't think the first thing I would do would be to kill people. I think I would steal.
Well, yeah, remember they were waiting with like super high anticipation for the first kill of the night, and they documented that, and then that just spread like crazy because there was that guy that was trying to break into the ATM, and then there were the guys that broke into that jewelry shop and whatever. So, it started off pretty mellow, kind of like mm-hmm. what you were saying. But then, obviously as the years progressed, people just realized the freedom that they had. And so murder became a lot more frequent.
Yeah, but it seems like all the movies, like, I feel like it would be more interesting if it was like The Purge, but it was like an Ocean's 11 movie where there was like a big heist involved. But you couldn't go to jail, but there was still like a heist, and that was what you were mm-hmm. intending to do, was to steal money.
Right.
Because, yeah, for the films, it's always kill, 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 and, I don't know. I don't know if that would be the default for everybody. It's just murder. And I know quite a few people in that universe, they have their fortress houses, or they just stay home. But, I don't know. I would like to see a little bit of variation between the four films. All four basically have the same goal of just lawless murder.
Pretty much. I think that that's just because that's probably what they found most interesting, or they thought that the audience would find most interesting, is murder, because that's pretty much one of the most illegal things that you can do. And so, of course, they're going to focus all the stories on that. Whereas when you have heist movies, part of what makes them so exciting is, the illegality of it and how they're going to pull it off. When, if it's illegal to steal things, what's stopping someone from just setting off a bomb, and just going in and taking what they want. So I kind of understand it, but it is boring when you have 4 movies in a row that are all just kind of the same thing.
Do you think they're going to make any more Purges?
I think that it's possible that they could if, things of more cultural significance happen in the United States, because, even now they're starting to make, like, religious movies that are coming out on Easter. Like, even Easter weekend is now an opportunity to release a movie. So I feel like they've made a lot of money. I think the budget for the fourth Purge was something around like 13 or 15 million, and they made 130 million off of it.
Yeah, so it's a 10 times return.
Yeah,
granted, they probably spent at least 10 million to 20 million advertising it. So even if they spent $33 million altogether, then yeah, that's a pretty good return on investment.
Yeah, so I don't really think that, even if they're not good movies, I don't think that there's really anything stopping them from making more, because I think people will still go see them.
Well, how many movies away are the Purge franchise away from being Paranormal Activity, though?
Ugh.
Well, because, Paranormal Activity, eventually there was so many that people said, okay, I don't care.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of teetering right now, because the first Purge, the fourth movie, I feel like it was just kind of garbage. I think that they're already kind of getting there to the point where they're not really putting in the effort to develop fully formed plots and good movies. They just kind of want the cash, you know.
It is a Blumhouse film, and Jason Blum worked on it, so I think by default they all have to be cash grabs. That's the only kind of films he makes.
I do like Blumhouse though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that necessarily Jason Blum is like terrible, but I mean that's just the way I guess the system that he's created is basically make these very cheap horror films, and then make $150 million off of them. That's kind of like his whole MO.
I think that they just kind of suffer from not having. I mean, it's just, for me, it's difficult to kind of classify these movies because it's not exactly horror, at least in my opinion, and it's not really psychological thriller. And I think that Blumhouse does best when they go full horror. You know, I think that the first maybe 2 Insidious movies were pretty good. I can't remember if they did The Visit. I don't think that they did. But they've
the one
made
with
some
the
good
old
ones.
grandparents?
Yeah. The M. Night Shyamalan one.
I don't know if I was a fan of that one.
Oh, really? I like that one. I just like the plot twist at the end, and I thought that it was funny. But anyways, getting off topic, I just think that it would have been better if the movie knew sort of what it wanted to be, I guess, because I'm not entirely sure. I guess it was kind of a, not historical fiction. What do you call it when it's in the future?
Like a dystopia film?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, like a future gone bad.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
What so I guess for the 2 films, what do you give the grades for them? No timer, one timers?
I think that Election Year was not terrible. I still wouldn't really recommend it, so I guess I'd have to call it a no timer, but I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. But for the 4th one, for the first Purge, I would say no timer, absolutely. It's boring and it's too dark, and I don't think that you're really going to gain anything from watching it. So,
yeah, I mean, I think for myself, I give them both no timers, but I don't know what it's been. I've seen all 4 in the theaters, and I remember watching all 4 very vividly. Like the first one I saw with my sister, and I thought, wow, this isn't really good. And then the second one came out, I actually saw it twice, and the second time I saw it, there was just some low-level drama that was going on in my life, so I had to miss half of it, and I was like, oh gosh, this kind of sucks. And then for the third one, I remember I watched it, and this was like the second date I was going out with this one girl, and we got back to my car, and like we talked for a while, and then I was like, oh geez, like where's my cell phone? So I couldn't find it, and this was like 3 a.m. at this point, so I went back to the movie theater I was at, and thank God this one guy I knew was working there. We dug around for it for a while for my cell phone, and it wasn't there, but I ended up that night walking away thinking that one guy was a cool guy, that I used to not really like him at all. So that was my biggest takeaway, was from the third one when I watched it, was that date, and then looking for my phone, and then thinking, wow, this movie sucked. Wow. So I remember very vividly, but the 4th film, which came out a year ago, I can't even remember watching it. Like, I know that I watched it, and I remember watching it, but I have no idea where I was or anything. It was so forgettable. I can't remember anything around it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, my eyes totally glossed over. It really just was kind of a waste of an hour and a half of my life.
I mean, I know I paid to see Purge 4. I don't even know who I watched it with. Like, I literally can't remember anything about it. I just remember thinking, this is stupid. I remember, like, Marissa Tomei died in a really, like, weird way. Like, she was, like...
I don't think that they showed her death, though.
Or did they show her, like, getting taken off in a helicopter?
No, she sort of had a really ominous last conversation with that one guy, and it was kind of just assumed.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't they show it, like, on camera, right? Don't they watch it? Yeah. Yeah, they're, like, in the command center. They
I can't even remember.
That 4th one was both are definitely no timers. Once we make the whole list of top 10 worst films of the 2010s, I'll say one way or another if First Purge is on there or not. You know, the 4th, First Purge, number 4. But it's definitely a candidate. It's definitely a candidate for one of the top 10 worst films of the decade. It's just like, I mean, yeah, maybe people could say too, well, it's a low budget film, like, go easy on it. I mean, the film had $13 million and had a wide release. It made $137 million worldwide. I feel like that's enough money to not excuse it for just being, like, stupid. And there's a lot of things in the 4th one that I didn't really like. I guess once we make that list, I'll be able to say definitively one way or another. So, yeah, I guess. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, to add to your last comment, I think that you can make a good movie with no budget. So I think that only having $13 million is not an excuse.
Yeah, I mean, there was this one film that came out. It's called Moon. It was directed by Duncan Jones. His father's David Bowie. And I love Moon. Came out like 2009 with Sam Rockwell and Kevin Spacey's the voice of this robot.
Oh, I have seen that.
Yeah, that movie, like, I loved. Like, I remember clearly seeing that film. Like, I went to Encino. There's like a Lemley out there that was playing it, and I thought it was great, and I loved it. I think that film had like a $2 million budget, or definitely lower than $5 million, and I thought the movie was great. So, like what you're saying, I mean, budget doesn't necessarily always equate being good or bad.
Yeah, because I mean, you have the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which I think had like a 275 million budget or something.
I don't know.
And it was really mediocre.
Yeah, so, you could say bad even. The fifth one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here, and we'll catch you next week.